Hello, Sea Change designers. I'm Cassie LaBelle. I'm a former Sea Change editor as well as a former 4C student, and I'm here to kind of go off of what you've already seen of Bob Foster's design tutorials, going over some key points and putting a spread together as well as making a Sea Change final book. But I wanted to create these tutorials to kind of just go over the key points that Bob made in his videos as well as answer some frequently asked questions between the design staff. I do just want to stress the importance as designers to stay in communication not only with your professor, but with the Sea Change editor, the Sea Change staff, and the Sea Change professor as well. If you have questions on the pages you're working on, they'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Now, once you get assigned a page, chances are there's going to be not only text on it, whether that's a poem, fiction, or nonfiction, but there's also going to be some kind of image that was submitted to the Sea Change. Now, what you want to do is open up Photoshop with the images that you were assigned to use and go right over here to image. So once you're in image, you want to go to mode. And as you'll see, it is set to RGB color. And you will want to set it to CMYK color. CMYK is the color that printers use. So whatever art that you're using on your pages, whether it be an image you were assigned, you want to set that to CMYK and go to save. Now this goes for any image you're going to be using on the Sea Change, whether that is an image that was submitted that you were assigned to place on the page, or for example, over here we have this Polaroid frame, I apologize, which someone went and Googled and found a usable, uncopyrighted version on the internet to frame another art piece. That's totally fine, as long as, again, you're setting it to CMYK color. And this is the most important part, is you want to make sure that once you have, any images you found online and your updated submitted pieces to CMYK, that all images are being sent to whoever is putting the book together, because what's going to happen if they don't have those images that you've used is they're going to have missing links and they won't be able to send the pages to the printer or export it. They'll have to redesign that page or bother you again, which you definitely don't want to happen. So again, that includes submitted pieces that have been made into CMYK, that includes anything that you found on the internet that is being uploaded to the page, and that also includes people who make their spreads in Photoshop, not InDesign. Now it's totally fine if you want to make a spread in a different, like Photoshop or something like that, as long as, again, you're setting that image to CMYK. You're saving that image and you're sending it to whoever's putting the book together so that this is not a missing link on the InDesign spread that you're going to be placing it on. Now, once all that is taken care of, what you're going to want to do is open up InDesign, go to Create New, and you're going to want to name your document something that is easy for you to find, whether that's page numbers you're working with or art pieces you're working with on that page, whatever is easiest for you. When you send it to the bookmaker, I highly recommend using page numbers as well as your name, because that just makes it super easy for the person to know who to contact if there's a problem. But again, title it whatever works best for you. And then you're going to want to switch this into inches and make sure that says 8.5 by 11. I'm going to say 5 pages, why not? And then, so page number down here, say you were starting with the cover, you'd want to say start at page 1, but not everyone's going to be working from page 1. You might be assigned a page in the middle of the dummy sheet, so just set your page number of your spread for whatever page it matches up with on the dummy sheet. And if it comes time to put the book together and pages get moved around, the bookmaker only has to remember to go back into this document and change the starting number, but that's something they have to worry about. If your editor requests a certain amount of columns, this is where you would put the amount of columns that they want to use. You don't have to add columns if they haven't said anything, but sometimes I like to add 2 just to give my eyes a bit more of a guideline and a grid to work with when I'm placing my images, even if I don't use the columns for the text itself. You want to make sure your margins are set all to 0.5 and that your bleed is going to be set to 0.125. Now, once that happens, what you're going to want to do is make sure that says facing pages, and that is the last step before you click create. And then you should get a spread that looks something like this. I did 5 pages, but you might be working with 2, you might be working with 4, you might be working with 2 pages in the beginning of the book and 2 pages in the back, so kind of alter that to however it works for you, but this is what generally you're going to get as a spread right here, and this is what it should look like. Now, all that's left to do is to place what you need to be working with. Obviously, if you need to put a colored background on, you do that, add whatever it is you need to add. But when it comes to placing an image and text from the SeeChange itself, you can go to File and Place. And what that's going to do is that's going to open up some folders here. So I'm going to go to Desktop and SeeChange Tutorial. I'm going to open this image here. Maybe I'll open this image here. I'm going to open this image here. Open. And then you can just click and drag. Now it's important to remember that if you want this image to go to the edge of the page and not stop before the edge of the page, you're going to want to drag this all the way out to that red line. What that red line does is ensures that any image or colored background that needs to be, touching the edge of the page when the cutter cuts it, that it will be touching the edge of the page. So for example, if you were to put text over the edge of the bleed, there's a good chance that it would get sliced off and you would be missing part of that text. So text generally stays in the white area, but images that go to the edge go to the... So once you place that image, you just want to make sure that the entire content is within the frame. Sometimes with InDesign, if you move this circle, you're moving the image, but you're not moving the frame. Then what you're going to want to do is, of course, place the text. You can either go to File, Place, or you can hit Control, or on the Mac that I'm using, it's Command, and then you click that at the same time as D. And that'll basically do the same thing. It opens up a folder, and what you can do is click the text box that you need to be adding. There's missing fonts, but that's not a big deal because we're going to be changing the fonts anyways. And then you drag that over. And then some text should be appearing any moment now. If you don't know what this little red dot means, that means there's overset text. So there's text that is appearing in the document that's not appearing on the page. So you always want to make sure you're clicking that and just opening that text somewhere else. Now, if you want to be working with the columns that are on the page, what you can do is highlight all of the text by either, physically highlighting the text or just clicking Control/Command-A. Once that text is highlighted, you're going to want to go into Type and then Text Frame Options. I don't quite know where to find it. I usually just hit Control-B, so that's what I'm going to do, and I apologize for that. Keyboard shortcuts are your best friends, and most things that appear on here, if you hover over them, will give you a keyboard shortcut. So I just hit Command or Control-B, and that opens, once the text is highlighted, and that opens up my text frame options. And then you want, here is where the columns are. Number of columns, however many you have on the page, you click that. So I have 2, and so I said 2. Then you want to make sure you check Balance Columns, because that's going to make sure all of the lines in the columns go directly across into the next column so that it's not a bunch of sentences all like uneven. They'll go into each other. And then that's all you have to do. Hit OK. And there are your columns. Now you do want to make sure that, like over here, the text box goes outside of the columns. The text box needs to only be covering the columns to work. But that's basically it. And like most text, you can kind of play with the spacing over here with all these options, and you can play with how they look like that. You just need to kind of ask your editor what they prefer and go from there. But generally, when you go to put them into columns, that is going to be just the easiest way to at least get a basis for what you're trying to work with. And finally, coming up with the document spread that you're going to send to your bookmaker or whoever is putting the book together and keeping track of the pages and spreads. So you want to go to File, and you actually want to go to Save As. And just make sure that you're saving it as an InDesign document. That's basically all you need to do, so that whoever is getting the book pages can, edit them as needed, make minor adjustments if something's a little bit off. You should try your hardest, obviously, to make things as exact as possible, but a lot of times the bookmaker needs to add page numbers and little things like that that we notice, typos, all of the sorts. So it's just very important that you send them this design document as something editable. Again, if you're working with page numbers, I highly recommend that you use the page numbers that you're sending them, as well as your name and maybe even an art piece slash the writing piece that's going on there. Just label it so that your bookmaker can kind of have an easier time because they're going to be getting a lot of pages and stuff like that. So once you click save, that's basically it. You don't have to worry about exporting it. You just have to worry about saving it as a document. And that makes it super easy for you guys. And I hope this video helped you guys. If not, like I said, please feel free to ask your professors, ask the staff. They want to help you. I'm so excited to see what you guys have in store for the next few sea changes and many more to come, I'm sure. And I hope this video helped you. So thank you so much for watching.